The method I use for making beads is to form a coil, cut it into bead-sized chunks, and then roll them around a rod to create the opening. I start with a piece of clay that will fit into the palm of my hand. I begin to squeeze it out into a log shape. When you make a fist, the interior of your fingers is creating this imperfect cylinder shape. So I squeeze and turn the clay to approximate the shape I want. I squeeze it out as far as it will comfortably go. Now I gently roll the piece on the tabletop, working from the tips of my fingers to the end of my hand. As I apply pressure, the coil will stretch. I move my hand outwards while rolling and applying pressure. The clay should be easily rolling, but if a flat spot occurs, you can work it out by putting a twist into the clay. Place a hand on one side to hold the clay down, and with the opposite hand, roll the other end away from you. Then roll the piece some more until it becomes smooth. I roll my coil until it's about 1/2 inch in diameter. The diameter is going to expand once I create the hole in it, so keep this in mind when you think about what size bead you want to end up with. I'm going to cut this coil in half just so I have smaller, easy to work with pieces. I trim off the ends so they are straight and clean. Every time I cut, I'm rolling the clay under the knife so that the coil isn't collapsed under the pressure of the blade. I make little marks to measure out the length of beads I want. Usually I can just eyeball it, but you could measure with a ruler. Rolling the clay under the knife cuts most of the way through, so I can just pull the pieces apart. I take a brass hole poker and push it through the clay, doing my best to keep it at the center. Any little rod or dowel could work for this, but it needs to be small and sturdy. I grasp the side of the rods with my fingertips braced on the tabletop and start to roll the clay toward me while lightly pressing it into the table. The hole will begin to open up as you roll. If one side is opening more than the other, try shifting the pressure to the side you want to open more. These motions require finding just the right amount of pressure, not too much but not too little. At this point, the ends of my beads are very rough, but I'm going to give the clay some time to dry a bit before I do the next steps. I want them to be stiff enough that they don't give under gentle pressure. Now that these beads have stiffened up, I smooth out the ends with my thumb and a little moisture. If this motion gets tiresome for your hand, you can do this instead. Moisten your tabletop so it's just a little damp, and then rub the clay across to create a smooth end. There's just one more step to finish the shape. Take a tapered tool and gently twist into the opening. This will give your bead a very nice, perfectly round hole. You can use your fingertips to continue to refine where needed. I bisque fire to cone 04 and then choose my colors and sometimes make patterns when I glaze. I also like to make my beads out of different color clays to add even more variety. Let me know if you try this bead making method and what you think. In the video description, I'll include some links for tools, other videos, and my website.